bop, shoebody do bop, shoebody do bop.
We invented the internet over 40 years ago. We invented modern toilets over 160 years ago. Yet we have never been able to find true happiness until now. Bopism might just be the solution to all our issues as a society. And I know what you're thinking. Is this nerd about to overanalyze a meme? Yes. Yes, I am, nigga. And trust me, this meme is a masterpiece in disguise. It has so much lore and depth, and you can just tell the creators really put their hearts and souls into it. So today's video is gonna break down the Shoebody Bop video. I promise I will make you see some nuance to this work of art, and maybe you might just enjoy the catchy song even more. Something many of you may know is that there are two videos in this meme series. Shoebody Bop and Something Terribly Offensive are the titles for the two videos created by The Minute Hour and animated by Drew Langlois. Both videos are following two separate events in the same universe through the eyes of John the Baptist. Now, as for something you may not know, the video of Something Terribly Offensive was a prequel to Shoebody Bop. Now listen carefully because this is important. I have a reason to believe John is suffering from brain damage and demonic possession. Also, STO, that sounds like some kind of disease, is a prequel not just because John appears to be the main character in both videos, but three other factors that hint towards a prequel continuity of some sort. Now let me justify why I think it's a prequel. First off, let's talk about continuity. The exact spot where John gets a cut on his head in Shoebody Bop, you know, the holy headbutt zone, is bandaged in Something Terribly Offensive. You can literally see the cut in Shoebody Bop, and then you can see that spot again, but wrapped up this time in Something Terribly Offensive. Now, in Something Terribly Offensive, did anyone else notice how John suddenly has henchmen? Here he says they're always with him and always support whatever he says. But think about that for just a second. What type of people, what kind of people do you need to blindly support you when you are threatening to chop someone up in pieces over a petty disagreement? What kind of people start dancing, I mean full on celebrating, when you hear the phrase, "Thank you boys"? If your answer is cult members, congratulations, you've officially unlocked tier 1 of Bop theory. And we're not done. Two of the guys from Shoebody Bop show up again in Something Terribly Offensive. Now, two of the three guys who would blindly support John the Baptist no matter what he says or does are in both videos. Yes, two guys from the Shoebody Bop video show up again in Something Terribly Offensive. Oh, and John, he's even wearing the same shade of blue we saw him wear in Shoebody Bop. Which brings me back to the point I was making earlier. How does John have brain damage? And how is he possessed by a demon? You see, at the end of Something Terribly Offensive, something strange happened. John bops the old man out of existence. He quite literally erased this man from existence. Call me crazy, but I think a normal person could not do this unless maybe you were possessed by Bopoment, a demonic multi-horned goat-esque creature that instantly boils water upon making contact with it. Now, this is when we get into the real meat of the lore. At the end of Shoebody Bop, John was seen ascending after being possessed by the demon. This was most likely a punishment for violating sacred Baptist doctrines. Yes, he committed multiple sins, and I will get into that, but let me just finish proving my point to you. The whole idea of him being possessed by a demon is what I think allowed him erase the guy from the Something Terribly Offensive video. And like I've established before, this happens after the events of Shoebody Bop. In Something Terribly Offensive is because he is suffering from a spiritual concussion. In layman terms, John the Baptist has brain damage, which he probably got from all the boppings that took place in Shoebody Bop. Now, speaking of Shoebody Bop, what exactly was the point of baptism? Why did they summon a demon? What sin did John commit? Now, I would want you guys to lock in here because we're gonna go over it in detail. The purpose of baptism isn't very clear. Honestly, I think this was intentional so that we as the audience can feel free to give it our own meaning. So let me see what you think about the meaning of the whole baptism ritual down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, consider giving a subscribe if you think this video is great, because I don't see anyone else overanalyzing this meme. Okay, so I'm sure everyone noticed how some niggas around here are wearing white and some others are wearing blue. Only those in white get bopped. But something I find very interesting is when the guy with the titanium forehead shows up. He is the only one wearing tattered garments and dusty ass shoes. In fact, he's the only one that is getting baptized that keeps his shoes on when he's getting into the water. I point that out because I think this was disrespectful. Different religions have different ways of doing different things. So far so good, we haven't seen anyone wear shoes into the water. We haven't seen anyone with tattered clothing getting into the water. And he came with this odd looking lady. I think they came to make a mockery of the practice. They are probably some kind of anti-Baptist people. And if you notice, when this nigga was getting bopped, he kept this smirk on his face. Now hear me out. I think Iron Skull here was genetically modified to simply mess with these niggas, and the lady definitely had something to do with it. But John the Baptist, the hero of the story, managed to make him a believer through pure dexterity, willpower, and faith, which is very important because when the demon is summoned, he decides to take the easy way out, the clever way out. But in doing so, the demon falls face flat into the water, probably drowning it. And another interesting detail, the demon is the only living thing that falls face flat into the water. Anyways, what John did here was trade his dexterity, willpower, and faith for a win. He threw away his faith just because he wanted victory. The two sins he committed here are choosing the easy way out and killing the demon. And that's when he gets consumed by the great darkness. But instead of being carried down the river like everyone else, he's taking up to the sky. Why up? Why not down like the rest of them niggas? Well, maybe it's because he didn't actually do anything wrong. As strange as it looks, maybe he was rewarded. You see, the demon presented a new kind of obstacle, one he hasn't faced before, and instead of brute forcing his way through it, he adapted, and that's rare. You see, when the demon came, it was a new obstacle for him. The demon literally has horns and spikes all around its forehead, so bopping it is definitely not gonna work. So instead of brute forcing his way through this obstacle, he adapted, and that's rare. A lot of religions and religious texts lay down rules that are seen as untouchable, sacred, set in stone. And that's the problem. That rigidity doesn't leave much room for nuance or adapting to new situations. Get this, some religious doctrines went as far as outlining how to take care of slaves, instead of just saying, hey, maybe don't own people. If we as humans never challenge ideas like that, the world will be stuck in a very dark place. And it was for a very, very long time. Another example, look at Galileo. Dude just said, maybe the earth isn't the center of everything. He offered a new idea. He offered a new way of looking at things. And the church was like, cool, now stay in your house forever. Well, not forever, obviously, but you get the point. And this was done to him because he looked at things differently. That's what John the Baptist did. Facing the demon head on was pointless. Like I said, it was literally covered in horns. So he shifted the strategy and it worked. Maybe that's earned him some type of divine demonic favor, or maybe it cursed him and made him to be possessed. And that's the beauty of this video. The ending can be seen in different ways, just like the premise. Now, speaking of things that can be seen in different ways, I think there's only one way of seeing the new Devil May Cry adaptation. It was terrible. It was a terrible adaptation. And if you want to hear my opinions and thoughts on why it is, click this video right here. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.